Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and kama kawa you guys know, I bring you the best of the best. Now most people are usually confusing between depression, being stressed, and other illnesses. And with me I have a special guest who is gonna be taking us through this special critical topic because this is very critical.
Sure, it is.
Yeah, and I'll give him the chance to introduce himself before we tackle this and engage more on this conversation about depression. Karibu sana on Get Real with Jennifer Maga. We
Thank you.
appreciate your presence.
Thank you so much. My name is Vincent Mukaya. I'm a clinical psychologist, and it's a pleasure to be here in this presence.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
So yeah, so because this is something that it's mainly affecting everyone in general,
Yeah.
I think it's worldwide because
It is.
yeah, it is worldwide, senior.
Yes.
And especially the youths, even adults, but I just specified because I wanted us to tackle mostly about the youths. Juu hapa hivi ndo unapata people have different reasons to be depressed. Do I put it that way? Or different, like unaona msee anafanya kitu then unasikia ako depressed. At the same time, people don't know how to differentiate. Is it really depression? Is it really stress? Is it really pressure? You get me? So
Yes,
people are
yes.
confusing that.
Yeah.
So could you take us first to how depression manifests itself? What are
Alright.
some of the signs? And how can someone know if they're depressed?
If they are depressed, sure. For sure, depression is a complex topic, if to say so. And it is said that generally 1 out of 4 people struggle with mental health illnesses. And when we say mental health illnesses, depression is part of a definition of what a mental health illnesses is, right?
Yeah.
So if we were to get a group of 5 to 10 people, it means that out of the 5 or 10 people, one is likely to be either experiencing depression or they're likely to experience any other condition that is related to mental health wellness. Now coming to the topic or to the discussion of depression. Depression, maybe to start with, is very common. It's very common, and it's a mental health condition that is very serious. And normally in psychological terms or in clinical terms, we love saying is a persistent persistent sadness or low energy or low mood that is ongoing for at least 2 weeks. So for us to be able to say someone is experiencing or to be able to diagnose this condition, there are several factors or characteristics that now come with it. So the key factors, maybe to start with, is the one is persistent sadness. So that is whereby you feel like you are so sad all the time. You feel like you don't have energy, you don't want to talk to people, you don't want to engage with anyone, and it continues from the first day or from the time it sets off all the way to at least 2 weeks. So that's the minimum we can say that one is not experiencing now the normal kind of struggles or pressures or sadness, because we experience different challenges in life, and there are those which are normal, and there are those which now exceeds the normal threshold. Now when it passes the threshold at least of 2 weeks, then we might start saying that you might be experiencing some signs of depression. Apart from that, there are 2 other key factors or 2 other key characteristics which include hopelessness or helplessness. A sense of helplessness or a sense of hopelessness. You start feeling like the value towards life is not anymore. You don't feel like you are being valued. You don't see the value of your existence. You're feeling like you cannot be assisted, you cannot be helped by anyone, or something of that sort. Even your self-worth, self-esteem at that time starts to go down and starts to diminish at some point, and sometimes you have no justification to it. It just happens that you are feeling that sense. But sometimes if you are asked why you are feeling like you cannot be helped, sometimes you can't explain it. Thirdly, but not least, these are just a few that are key that when it comes to say that one is experiencing depression. Is the lack of pleasure or interest in previously enjoyed activities. That one could be you are someone who used to enjoy videography, you're someone who used to enjoy going out with friends, someone who used to be talkative, someone who used to be engaging, having fun and all kind of form, but at this point you might start to experience some kind of withdrawal. You don't feel like you don't want to engage, and you are lacking motivation. You're lacking motivation towards engaging in that particular pleasurable activity. It could be as simple as, you know, even cooking, dressing up,
Dressing
grooming up.
Yeah, grooming.
You know, yeah, I know. I love your stylistic way of how you know you are dressed. You know, the way your exquisite way of how you express yourself to your audience. And
Oh.
so sometimes if you feel or someone you reach a point whereby you don't no longer have that interest of wanting to dressing up yourself, it could be a sign that could be indicating there is something that is not going on well with your.
But at the same time, we could say that can also relate with the mood swings. Because at a certain point, may feel,
Yes.
I just don't want to do it. But later on, I'll be like, oh, now I can do it.
Sure, it can, and that one now might bring us to other, a discussion of forms or types how depression manifests itself, of different types of depression, because depression is just a merely of, on the layman's language, people know it as depression, but deeper into the depression, it has several things that can be narrowed down to what one is experiencing, because also the treatment, as we go down to this discussion, we'll get to see the treatment is different for different types of depressions that one might be experiencing. Yes.
Could you take us to the different types of depression?
Yeah.
That's something I really don't know. No, because this is very educational. I think we'd appreciate if
All
you
right.
know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There are several, but when I was coming to this show today, I had narrowed down to at least two to four, or a maximum of 5 types, because it's quite a complex type. Depression is quite complex, as you have already said it.
Yeah.
So maybe to start with, based on the audience you are engaging with, as we say, you know, in the current generation whereby we are faced with several challenges, several issues, I like to start with what we call postpartum depression. Postpartum depression is a kind of depression that one experiences, especially ladies or new mothers, for the first time when they are giving, or they have after birth. You know, it is characterized normally by three key characteristics. One, it is the mood swings. So sometimes mood swing might become so much persistent and one is not able to control it. One might also get to experience fatigue, you know, so fatigue. Apart from that, one also might experience some kind of anxiety. And anxiety, I trust, it's also another big challenges that people are experiencing outside there, especially the newly mothers, the young ladies who are outside there. This is something sometimes you might start to experience it and you don't know what is happening with you. You have given birth. Sometimes others start to experience some kind of hatred towards the children. The child or the children in such a case. And whenever you are asked, you know, you don't want to breastfeed them, you don't want to be close to them, you are harsh, you know, you are so mean, you know, you want, sometimes others, I have seen others taking extreme ways of even treating this kid. This is a very young child, innocent child, but because you are experiencing a psychological distress at that time, you don't get to know what is happening with you. So it's really important for people to monitor such kind of things if it happens, based on maybe the circumstances at that particular time. Secondly, it is the what we call atypical depression.
Typical depression.
Atypical, not typical. Atypical depression.
Okay.
Atypical depression is a special kind of depression. But depression, as we have said, most of the time is characterized by persistent level of sadness. But in this case, a person might experience increased appetite. In the other way, if I say typical, maybe typical depression, but this one is atypical. So one, it means one experience increased energy levels of wanting either to eat too much. The other kind of depression, the other people might not have the energy to eat. You get?
Yeah.
And then this also the typical kind of depression. One may experience excessive kind of sleeping, where they just want to sleep consistently. They just want to sleep and all such kind of things. So it goes contrary to the other type of depression. So typically, if I was to say the typical kind of depression maybe is whereby in a psychological term we call MDD, major depressive disorder. That's the normal one maybe people are used to.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The normal one that people are used to. Apart from that, I like to mention something that is very special, and I like to discuss in this show. Another type of depression is that touches the children, and normally we call it it's a dysregulational mood disorder that now affects children, particularly in children. But this kind of depression or this kind of
children, which age specific?
Age, let's say,
or range?
Maybe as 3 to 12 years. 3 to 12 years. This kind of form, it manifests itself in terms of anger outburst. Or kids, they tend to behave in a very funny way that you don't get to understand them.
I think I've witnessed that.
Oh, really?
Not that I have a child, but I've seen like clips where like a child is trending and maybe the child is shouting at the parent and they have anger issues and I'm like, this child is still young, why is this happening?
Yes.
So that's another form of depression.
Yes, it is a form of depression. And normally it's a disruptive kind of mood dysregulation. And this one gets majorly children at that young age, or even while they are going through different milestones in their life. So there could be several factors to why they might experiencing that kind of a form of depression. But if you don't get to understand it, others might see these children as either deviants, as children who are not conforming with maybe rules and regulation or the norms of the society at that particular time. And if it is not well managed, these kids might end up developing other issues in their milestone while they're coming up. So managing that condition is really, really fundamental at that particular age of the children.
But how will a parent know that my child is depressed? At this age, let me just be honest with you. No, at this age, if a parent sees you that you are very angry or you don't want to cooperate the way they think, they'll be like, this child is stubborn. How are you doing this? You're supposed to be, and they end up disciplining you. And in most cases, you find that the parent is like annoyed with you to an extent. They don't want you. They don't value you as their kid. So it's very difficult to tell.
Yes, that's why actually we are trying to create now this awareness. So whenever you get to observe some of these signs and symptoms, I think it's really important for you to seek a professional or seek some kind of help. Talk to someone. That my child is experiencing this. I'm observing unusual behavior in my child, and I don't get to understand them. It's not a normal way how a child should be behaving in such a way. I think that is one way we can get to approach such a matter, because I would like to say that in Africa we have, for a long time, we have been struggling with creating awareness, or rather putting mental health a priority. Mental health is still a challenge outside there. And still, majority of our Kenyan citizens and at large the African continent is still struggling with mental health illnesses, and seeking help has been stigmatized for a very long time, even right now ongoing. So I think also speaking out some of those behavioral issues that you observe, emotional, behavioral, and also even the thought processes of a child. There's a way a child could be, trying to talk to a child, but now the responses you get, they kind of not positive way, and they're kind of trying to express some form of distress, and because at that time maybe their brain have not developed enough to enhance their coping, and also maybe to adjusting maybe to the different circumstances they might be going through. So it's important to seek help from professionals. I think that way will go a long way to helping now you deal with such cases. So don't neglect, don't ignore them. But don't ignore, that's the word.
So I have a few questions. I actually went on my Instagram and asked, which are some of the things that you're experiencing? I mean, have you ever been depressed, and how did you cope with it? And I prepared 3 because I felt these were a bit ambiguous. Hi Jennifer, I struggle so much in letting go of drugs. I've been an addict for 3 years and now I can't do anything without using. Bang. It kind of reminds me of an experience I had with someone very close. Yeah, so this guy, we knew each other for a long time. But this person had family issues, and the family was a bit outrageous. And now all the anger, all the malicious acts zilikuwa zinakuwa dumped on this guy.
Yeah.
So instead of like seeking help or maybe doing something that itamsaidia, this
Yes.
guy, because he was like a medicine student, this person
Okay.
started focusing on drugs.
Mhm.
And it's the same situation here.
Okay.
So how do we help this person?
How do we help such a person?
Mhm.
I think that one might bring me to another type of depression, what we call situational depression disorder. I don't know whether you have heard of this. This kind of situational depression disorder is triggered by one going through a certain situation, a certain distressing situation, just the same as you have already given a description. Loss of a job, for instance, divorces, heartbreaks.
Heartbreaks. I didn't know heartbreaks would bring depression.
So heartbreaks, studying and unable to get a job, such because I know also we are speaking to young people outside there.
Yeah,
And
sure.
especially those who have already graduated, the others have gone to masters, PhD, but still they don't feel like a door is opening along their way to be able to navigate their life. I think so such a person might be going through what we call now a situational depression as a result of the exposure to the experiences they have already encountered, and these experiences are negative experiences. You understand them?
Yeah.
So in such a case, I think it's really important to first to acknowledge. They need to acknowledge.
You acknowledge you are depressed, or you acknowledge
You acknowledge you are going through a certain situation, and this situation is unpleasing to you. You understand? So getting to acknowledge that this situation, it is distressing to you, and it has reached a point whereby you are not able to control your thoughts or your behavior or your emotions at that time is the way to go. And then from there, I think we can get to you can find if you are unable maybe to seek a professional help, maybe I can suggest a few tips. You can maybe take a walk, you can journal your thoughts down. It really helps a lot to it helps to release the thoughts, and being able to put your thoughts together in a way on how you are feeling. I feel like it's like you are removing your thoughts from your head all the way down to a piece of paper or to a journal. Thus you can find pleasurable activities, talk to a friend, talk to someone about the situation. It can really help. But if it reaches a point whereby you are not able, regardless that you have tried all these ways, everything, and it's not working, I think it's really important to seek now professional help. Depression is not just a matter of feeling sadness. It's a medical condition as well.
Yeah.
Because we take medical approaches when it comes to persistent depressions. That is not getting away. So it is treatable. That is what I can say. So don't neglect anything when it comes to how you are feeling or being exposed to a certain stimuli in your environment.
So another situation, the finances and stress makes me depressed. I finished school 4 years ago, and with my profession in engineering, I have 3 children out of marriage, and I don't know how to deal with this.
Okay.
Which type of depression is this?
It's still a situational.
It's still a situation.
They are still exposed to the situation that they are into, and I think the best way about going through this is, one, if you are unable to deal with the situation, well and good, because once you deal with the situation, it means the consistent sadness or the depressive kind of thing. Now, depression, it's in simple words, it means feeling low. Feeling low, or having a low mood, or having a low energy levels, or something of that sort. So if you're able to deal with the situation, the likeliness of that state of feeling sadness or feeling low is likely to fade or go away if you are in a position to deal with such a situation. It could be maybe if you're able to start a fresh relationship, if you are in a position to and also getting acceptance is the biggest yes, is the biggest way to go about situational depression disorders.
Let me ask you something away from this.
Yes.
So I have a friend who has been traumatized growing up as a child, and now the person is like 28 years old.
Okay.
And this person, because she was traumatized, it didn't occur to her that she'll be 28 with no job, with no relationship, with nothing.
Okay.
And now she got depressed. And now, while she felt she was depressed, she started saying that it's because of the traumas she had while she was a child. Can that be a way of manifestation? Can that be a way depression can manifest itself at that age from childhood traumas?
Yes, trauma has quite a big impact to our adulthood. One of my greatest philosopher called Sigmund Freud said that the child is the father of man.
The child is the father of... Okay.
Yes. What
I'm
that
a bit
means,
lost.
what that means, it means that the experiences that you go through your childhood forms who you are when you become an adult or during your adulthood experiences. So the experience, because our brain functions on our folders, because either through social learning experiences, so our brain is able to create folders of different events, whether they are positive or they are negative. So whenever in the future you experience a certain exposure, a certain experience, you have a folder that relates to your childhood. So it refers. So it's like a referral. So it goes, how did I learn when someone is stressed? How do I deal with it? So maybe you come to realize that when your dad was stressed, or your dad or your parents were experiencing financial issues, your dad used to drink. That is how they used to manage their stress. That's how you learned that when someone is stressed, when someone is depressed, when someone is experiencing a distressful event in their life, the way to deal with it is through drinking, for instance. And then that one comes whereby the dad becomes aggressive, violent in the family, beating the mom in such a case, sometimes also becoming aggressive to you as a child. So through that you learn that as a coping mechanism. So when you grow up, you might tend also to relate the same way. So it might take two routes. One, you might relate exactly with how you learned from your dad or from your parents with dealing with such a situation, or you might take another extreme end of running away from the situation.
Which most people usually do that.
Yes. So because you say, my mom used to do this, my dad used to do this, my uncle, my relatives, or my cousins, if you were growing with your cousins at that time and they were maybe taking care of you, or your granny at that time. So when you grow up and you are trying to find a solution to all these things all together, you are having these folders and they're back there in their unconscious mind or their subconscious mind.
Okay.
So it is so naturally for you to run away easily without knowing the impact it will create later, because that is how you have learned how to cope with the situation. All right? Are you getting it now?
I get you.
Now let's coming to your friend in this case. So the event that happened at that time, they were stressful to him. For sure, they have impacted him in one way or the other. And this time is, I think, he didn't get. Is he a he or a she? A she. She didn't get the help at that time, and over time, it's like there are four levels of the brain, how the brain registers information. So we have the subconscious, the preconscious, the unconscious, and the conscious mind. So right now, as we are speaking, we're operating on the conscious mind. On the conscious mind. So the other three levels is where we throw other information of our experiences.
Okay.
Especially because the brain doesn't like to experience pain. So whenever something painful we encounter a painful stimuli or a painful experience, the brain throws it to a folder that these experiences, you don't need to recall it, you don't need to experience it because it is painful, and therefore you need to shut it down. We are in a clinical term, we call it regression. You repress the thoughts. So once you repress it now, it comes a time when maybe in the future, when you encounter a certain experience almost similar to the one that you encountered, it will trigger those memories that have been stored in your mind.
Yeah.
Are you getting?
Yeah. So
once it is stored, when it triggers, those memories come from all the way, whether they were in the subconscious mind, they'll come now to the unconscious. You might start operating on the unconscious mind, whereby you are acting, you are thinking, sometimes behaving in a certain way, sometimes even you don't get to relate with them. That is the unconscious mind. And sometimes it might come now to the conscious mind. That is when you start saying, these experiences, I experienced this and this, and now they have resulted into how my life is the reason why I'm not having a stable relationship, is the reason why I'm not having this, is the reason why I'm not having a job, is the reason why I didn't finish my school, all those kind of a thing. So I think also getting to understand the process and also getting to understand the impact of our childhood experiences plays a very big role into the matter of discussion we are talking about today.
Now, what's the intervention when it comes to this specific topic?
The intervention are quite wide. First, I think when you come to a professional, for instance, we get to assess. We need to assess the kind of your needs. Because I have told you now, I've been able to identify a few of the types of or forms of depression. So we need to first to assess what form of depression or what type of depression you might experiencing. So we get to the root cause. And when we get to the root cause, one of the best way of dealing with it is through therapy. So you might go through talk therapy or psychotherapy to help you uncover those past unhealed or untackled issues. So you're able to work through it through a professional, well-trained counselor, either a psychologist or therapist. In such a case, they help you to walk through that journey, and several techniques are used along that way to help you now recover through the experiences, to bring you to a point of acknowledging, accepting, and being able to move forward. Another way, some experiences or some of this depression, also one might go through medical approaches. There are several medications that are used. So one, you need to visit a physician who will examine you, or a psychiatrist in this case, in collaboration with a psychologist. Once they assess this condition and then they have seen that it has gone beyond control now, they might now use certain medications like Fluanzo, but don't go to prescribe yourself.
Ukisema hivyo mtu ataenda je chemist nipeche Fluanzo.
Okay.
I know someone who used to do that. I literally know someone who used to like medicate himself. Like he used to buy drugs na anajimedicate, and I'm like, where?
Yeah, so don't go ahead and prescribe yourself. Like fluoxetine. Fluoxetine is one of the antidepressants that is used, and not Fluenza, sorry, that is used to deal with the mood, because it's the mood, it's part of the mood, and also trying to help the neurotransmitters to balance, or to help now transmission of information, because at that time they are dysregulated. So we try to put them back to their path of regulation to be able to pass information properly. Apart from that, lifestyle changes. Especially the kind of lifestyle nowadays we are experiencing, where with our young people, they are all wanting to compare themselves to the what they are seeing outside
especially social media.
They are like, I want to be like this celeb. Someone you studied, you went to the same school with someone, maybe your colleague or someone, and then when you are in social media, you see how their lifestyle is so poshy, so good, stylistic, and you're like, there's no way, so I think also getting to understand that you need to adjust your lifestyle, which include eating, the content you are consuming all the time, and also food. Diet is really important because it plays a very vital role in our body, and also balancing and nourishing the body at large. Doing a bit of exercise. If you're unable to walk, you can take a walk, listening to meditation, doing some yoga, some of just simple lifestyles that you can be able to practice. Actually, I love meditation a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe next time you'll teach us how to meditate as a profession. Maybe we can learn something from there.
Yes. Apart from that, finally, but not least, that is very fundamental to this topic is social support systems. It's really important. Sometimes we say, as much as you come to therapy, as much as you get medication, you change your lifestyle, you are social beings. So we love socializing, we love interacting with other people, and one best way of dealing with this condition is finding a social support group, a friend, family members, of which because of maybe the social way of people are interacting nowadays through social media, they are like chasing followers online, but when you come to their personal life, they have literally almost zero one-on-one person they can talk to.
Yeah, that's very
you understand?
Yeah, that's very
So
true.
I think also changing that form of socialization, it will be very fundamental. But we're also trying to make therapy also be part of technological advancement, whereby not only you are engaging on a social level of interaction with other people, but you can also engage with professionals through online medias to engage you in meaningful conversations. Yes. So find a friend. If you're outside there and you feel like you're struggling with someone, find a friend, find a family member, or resolve some of the conflicts you're experiencing with your friend, because others have friends, but they have already conflicted with them, so they're not able to mend their friendship.
Even family members,
Yeah,
not that
or sometimes even family members. Yes, true.
But because you are just about to finish on the topic,
Yes.
allow me to take you through one last question
Please
or
go
one
ahead.
last thing.
Yes.
So there are people who have gone through therapy, there are people who have gone through counseling,
Yes.
and they have done so much, they've changed their lifestyles, because I've experienced because I have a large family, a big family, it's the right term.
Okay.
And I see how people behave and how people manifest themselves. And you get this person has been going through therapy for a long time,
Yes.
or maybe counseling,
Yes.
but there aren't changes.
There aren't changes.
Completely. And completely, this guy is paying for therapy.
Okay.
What could be the problem? Is it a mental problem?
That's quite a
Because for
difficult
me, let me
question.
tell you, there's a time I was depressed. Like
Okay.
about 3 years ago, I went
Okay.
through a tough moment of my life. I was very depressed.
Okay, I'm sorry
And,
for your experiences.
It's okay. That's
Yes.
something I overcame. But
Okay.
mine came in a, how do I put it? I kept on sleeping. I didn't want to do anything. I think you talked about that.
Yes.
Like mine manifested itself in that form. Like
Yes.
I was this person who was like ever in my room just sleeping.
And you don't want to talk to people.
And I didn't
you were
want to, because
withdrawing,
at that
isolating.
time I
Yes.
didn't have people to talk to. I had someone very close, but I didn't know how to bring out whatever was affecting me.
Okay.
And because it involved my family, I was kind of lonely.
Yes.
But I overcame that through therapy.
Yes.
But now you find that the same time that people are going through that, nothing is changing.
Nothing is changing.
Yeah.
So what could be the issue?
What could be the issue? Tell us.
Okay, I think we need to acknowledge certain contributions towards these conditions. As much as we are talking about these conditions, we also need to acknowledge what could be the contributors or the causes, if we are to say so, or the risk factors, if we are to put it in that way. That one also influences greatly how one is responding to treatment. So let's assume this one, there are biological causes to one experiencing depression. And when we say biological, it means one, it could be genetical. It might have been they have inherited this condition as a result of their parents or a relative in their lineage from either the paternal or the maternal side of their family lineage or the family heritage. So that you see that one, it is going to influence your response to the nature of treatment. So also getting to understand whether it has been there in your generation, it is generational in your family, is really, really important, because it means therefore as much as you might modify the lifestyle, go to therapy, and or the physical form of changes you might make, there is still a greater contribution into your genetical makeup